Well, hello there. Greetings, salutations. Welcome to my new series on negotiation skills for sensitives, people pleasers, and artsy types. It's a working title, okay? This series is going to be going over negotiation tips for people like you and me who maybe cringe at the thought of having to negotiate things like your rates or your terms or your services with clients or even your salary with an employer. I know that negotiation is like kind of a really scary word, especially for those of us who are very empathetic and sensitive and who don't want to come off as like salesy or pushy or selfish or greedy. And I think that negotiation doesn't have to feel like that. I personally have come a really long way with developing not just a good, but a great relationship with negotiation. I have come to regard it as a game. And so I want to give you some tips that have really helped me over the years so that you can take your career to the next level and get paid what you deserve, what you are worth. Okay. So, this is going to be a series, like I said, because as I was writing notes for this video, which is new for me, if you haven't seen any of my other content, it's abundantly clear that I do not write notes or scripts. But I wanted to do right by this series. So, I was writing my notes for it, and I'm like into 4 pages, single spaced. Okay. So, there's a lot that I have to say on this subject. So today we're going to be going over some like baseline mindset shifts that need to happen. I definitely do encourage you to stick around for this video because we're laying the groundwork, right? Like this is the foundation, the mindsets that you need to have in order for those tips, tricks, skills, etc. to really work, okay? So, without further ado, let's talk about negotiation. If there's any one thing that I want you walking away from at the end of this video. If you click off this video after I make this point, that's fine. But the main thing, the number one most important thing about having a successful negotiation that goes in your favor is that you have to be completely detached from the outcome. You have to be detached. I know. It's a lot easier said than done. Okay, I realize this, especially when we're talking about income, which you need to survive. You need income in order to live indoors, which is becoming more and more of a luxury these days. You need income if you want to have food in your tummy, again, becoming more and more of a luxury these days. You need money if you want to exist in this society that we have all built for ourselves. So, I could go off on a tangent about that, but I won't. I'll leave that for another video. Point being, I know that it is really freaking hard to detach from the outcome of a negotiation that is around your income. But just because it's hard doesn't mean it's impossible. So let's talk about how to make it easier. The main thing that's going to make it easy to detach from the outcome of whatever you're negotiating is if you don't need it, right? This seems like pretty like no shit, Laura, right? But it's true. There's a saying that goes, it's easiest to get a job when you already have a job. And I have found this to be true for kind of two main reasons. Number one being that when you submit a resume to employers when you're unemployed, the gap in your resume can be a bit of a red flag, right? Like potential employers are going to look at that and they're going to be like, why aren't you working? What's wrong? Did you get fired? If so, why? Like, what's the story here? And they kind of are automatically suspicious, at least bad employers. Not all employers are like that. Um, but the other piece of it is that if you already have a job, you're going to be a lot more detached from the outcome of getting whatever this new job opportunity is, right? If you already have the means to have a roof over your head and food in your belly, then moving to a new opportunity that will be more aligned with like your interests and your goals is a lot lower stakes. If you don't get whatever opportunity that you're negotiating for, nothing bad happens, right? Like you're in the same exact position as you were prior to the negotiation. Nothing changes except for potentially a bruised ego or some like feeling sorry for yourself about the rejection, right? But as far as like the circumstances of your life, if you fail at your negotiation or don't get what you want, nothing on the outside changes. And if nothing on the outside changes and on the outside you're already meeting your needs, then it becomes a lot more fun and a lot more like easy and relaxed to go into a negotiation feeling detached from the outcome. So, why is this detachment important? I think it's most important because you want to be going into any negotiation with an attitude of they need me more than I need them. This gives you what the business world calls leverage. If you have more power by being in the position of you need me more than I need you. I can dictate the terms of what this relationship is going to look like because I don't need this relationship. Now, I mean, in an ideal world, both parties of this negotiation don't need each other, right? But usually there is some level of imbalance. When you first applied to your very first job, you felt it, right? You had no job experience, but you needed money. And so you needed that job more than that employer needed you specifically, right? Like they may need an employee, but they don't need you specifically with no job experience to your name. That means that in that position, when you have no work experience and you're just desperate for any job, you don't have a lot of bargaining options, right? Like in your case, it's either take the job at minimum wage and at least be making minimum wage, or turn down the job and you make zero money. Like, which would you choose? It's the choice is fairly obvious. All of that to say, if you already have an income when you're going into a negotiation as a service provider, okay, I should note that all of these tips are coming from the perspective of you being hired to do something. You're the one who is providing a service, a product, your labor. um, my tips would be different if you were on the other end, if you were the one purchasing, if you're the one spending money. It does look a little bit different. Maybe let me know if you want to see a video on that. I don't know if it's as helpful for people who are pursuing careers in um, the public eye, in the arts, etc. But if you want to get my thoughts on the flip side of that, do let me know in the comments. But yeah, as far as when you are the one who is providing the service, if you already have an income, whether it's from like existing clients or from a day job or whatever, then you're going to be bringing a lot less desperation, which gives you the peace of mind to say no to the wrong job. If the other person is like wants to hire you but for half the rate that you are expecting, you have the power to say no if you're already making enough money to make ends meet. So if you if this is you, if you have a job, I recommend keeping that job. Okay. um I know that that can feel pretty like soul crushing for those of us who are really trying so hard to make a living making art, being creative, doing what we love. Okay. I know that it's like super, super soul crushing to have to keep working your incredibly uninspiring day job while you're trying to get your art hustle off the ground. And try to think of that main job as an angel investor. I think that it is unwise. And this is coming from experience. Okay. I made the mistake of quitting my day job without like having any kind of backup plan. And I got into what I thought was my dream job as like a performer, but then it turned out that my bosses were like the shittiest humans alive. Okay, that's an exaggeration. They're not the shittiest humans alive. They're pretty shitty bosses, but they're like okay people. I can think of a lot of worse people than them. Anyway, point being, you don't want your dream to become a nightmare. I think that one of the biggest appeals of pursuing a creative career, self-employment, whatever, and being an influencer is having the leverage, having the ability to say no to anything and everything that you don't want to do. Think of it like your main job is an investor in your creative project, whatever that is. Or you can also think of it as diversifying your income streams, which in this day and age is an extremely wise decision for anyone and everyone to make. If you haven't been thinking about diversifying your income streams, you should, because the world is only getting more and more uncertain. I think going into the future, the number one feature, the number one trait that is going to be able to keep you afloat over others, be able to keep you living inside where others may struggle to do so, is adaptability. And having multiple income streams will enhance that adaptability. The faster that you can pivot from one thing that isn't working to something else that is working, the better. And a way to set yourself up for success in doing that is to have multiple income streams. So for me, I've spoken about this in pretty much every video on this channel, but I am a grad student. I'm earning my master's in counseling. So I'm going to be a therapist in like 5 years. Okay. I'm still very much at the beginning of my journey. But as you can see, I'm also working on creating this platform here on YouTube. And I am not shy about declaring my intention to monetize this channel. I would really love for this channel to be a source of income for me, but that doesn't mean that I want to be a full-time YouTuber. I don't. I fully intend to do therapy once I get my degree, once I get my license. I may not do it full-time. Hopefully, I won't do it full-time. That sounds like a lot. Like, I don't want to burn out, you know, but I fully plan on doing that even with YouTube. Okay. Keeping YouTube part time, keeping therapy part time. I'm also a pet sitter currently. I plan on continuing pet sitting part time, even once I'm licensed. We'll see how I feel about that when the time comes. But as of right now, it's easy. It's good income. Like, I'm basically getting paid to sleep in other people's homes. So, um, but here's the thing is that as I develop this YouTube channel and as I develop my therapy career, what that does is it gives me leverage to say no to pet sitting jobs that I don't want to do, right? And same goes with like, not taking on clients that I'm not equipped to take on. I can say no to that because of these other projects that I have going on. When it comes to this YouTube channel, I will be able to say no to sponsorship deals or whatever that don't align with me and my goals for the channel because I have these other ways to make money. So having multiple income streams makes you adaptable. If something happens and I can't pet sit anymore, I still have these other two things. If something happens and I can't do therapy anymore, I still have these other things, right? There's always a way, there's always something that I could invest more into, more time into, more resources, attention into if I have to cut off one of my octopus tentacles. I still have 7 more. So, okay, that's a really long-winded way to say a really smart way to be detached from the outcome of any given negotiation is to have not just one stream of income through your job, but multiple different streams of income. It's sort of a way to have a savings account if you don't have a savings account. It's FU resources. Next, I want to talk about a couple other mindset shifts regarding detaching that are a little bit more specific. So, one of them has to do with turning down low paying jobs or jobs that like don't align with your overall creative vision, that you're worried wouldn't make sense in your portfolio, that just you don't have a full body yes to. How do you say no to opportunities like that if you don't have the leverage to say no? So, like I said, I'm a pet sitter and I'm self employed. I set my own rates. And the way that I think about this when I turn down a job that I don't want to take because, maybe they only have one pet in the household, so I'm only getting paid for one pet, and it just like the math doesn't math, whatever. Maybe they live too far away from me, whatever reason, I want to say no. When I turn down a less than perfect job, it leaves that spot available for a more perfect job to come in. The flip side of this, imagine if I did say yes to a pet sitting job that didn't pay me enough, And then 2 days later, I get a request. So, I said yes to the pet sitting job. There's only like one cat. But now I'm booked for, let's say, a week, and I can't book anything else. Like, we're pretending this is an overnight for a single cat, which is like the lowest thing that people would pay for overnights would be a single cat. If I said yes to that, and then 2 days later, I get a request for the same dates from a family that has 3 dogs, 4 cats, and, chickens. I can't say yes to that job because I've already said yes to this other job. Now, I mean, technically I could, right? I could go back to that other client and say, oh, hey, sorry, something came up. I can't take this booking after all. And to be honest, I have done that. But it's not a habit that I like to make because it reflects poorly on your like personal professional reputation. It's not in integrity for me. So I really don't like to do that. I like to think of it that by turning down less than perfect jobs, by turning down jobs that I'm not excited to do, I leave that space open for a job that I am excited to do. Once again, having multiple sources of income is an extremely key component to this. It's so much easier mentally, and also like it's safer to say no to an imperfect job if you have other money coming in somewhere else. I think if you're wondering why I'm looking over here, I have my tablet with notes. But I think another argument in favor of having multiple streams of income is that it helps enhance your abundance mindset. Okay, we're not going to get too far into like woo woo stuff in this video. But, when it comes to like abundance versus scarcity mindset, if you are able to know that, like, okay, if making income over here doesn't work out, I'm still making income over here, it just helps with that abundance mindset, which in turn helps with your ability to say no to scarce jobs. If you set your rates and you set them high, as you should, and nobody comes and knocks on your door and says, hey, I want to hire you, remember that you can always lower your rates. This was another thing that I had to kind of coach myself through with my pet sitting business. I went and significantly increased my rates last year, and I'm overdue to do that again. And I wasn't sure if it was the right move, but I knew that I needed to be making more money per booking because I was going to be going to school and I would need to be taking on less work. So, in order to be making the same amount of money in less time, I need to raise my rates. What I had to kind of coach myself through was, I was having all these worries of if I raise my rates too high, people are going to stop reaching out to me and hiring me. So I said, you know what? All right, that's fine. First of all, we're going to go do some market research to find out what rates I should be charging for my kind of status on this app. Second, if I do raise my rates and nobody books me, I can always lower them again. So I strongly encourage you to adapt a similar mindset. Set your rates what you would love for them to be. And if nobody's hiring you at that, you can always bring them back down until you have more experience, more confidence, more references, more referrals, blah, 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 etc., more budget for advertising, and then you can creep the prices back up. But you'll never know until you try if you can make the amount that you want to make from whatever your creative project is. Okay, so I think that's a wrap on the foundation of detachment to the outcome and my thoughts on how to achieve it. Of course, you can always work on being detached from the outcome, even if you are unemployed, but I think it's going to be so much harder. um, I, in fact, okay, as I'm sitting here and thinking this through, actually, I think if you are in the position of not having a job at this current moment in time, it may be wise to focus your job search on a position that you are detached from, a job that you don't see yourself in long term, a job that not like not a job that isn't related to your long-term career goals. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but a job that is only tangentially related to your long-term career goals. An example that I can think of in my life is I worked for about 2 years at a gym. I was the front office manager, and I got that as my like kind of day job as part-time while I was working on building my talent agency business, which someday I'll tell that story. um, but it provided me with enough for sure income that I felt secure enough to like take some risks with my business. And it was tangentially related to the rest of my career, right? Like, I, at the time, had a career in circus arts, and this was a normal people gym. It wasn't a circus gym, but it was still fitness, right? I was still surrounded by people who cared about fitness. It gave me free access to a normal people gym, which was great. I could lift some weights and do normal people fitness, which is nice because even circus gets boring when you do it too much. um, and it was just nice to have a job that I didn't have to like mentally and emotionally bring home with me. It helped a lot that my coworkers and bosses were great. So if you are in the position of being unemployed or underemployed, I definitely recommend instead of starting with your dream job. Now, okay, I'm not saying don't apply to your dream job. If there's a listing for your dream job, apply for it. But like, try not to get sucked into the self worth spiral around that job. Play the numbers game, apply to that job, but also apply to jobs that you care less about, because most likely you will be a hell of a lot better in negotiating a better compensation package for a job that you care less about. If your dream job is to be a gallery curator, let's say you get the interview for that job and simultaneously you get an interview for a job as a gym manager like I did. Which negotiation are you going to be more willing to walk away from if they can't pay you a livable wage? You're going to be very willing to walk away from the gym job if they're not able to compensate you the way that you need. Whereas with the gallery job, because that's your dream job, that's the one that is like super important to you and your goals and your heart. If they're not able to offer you enough to meet your needs, you're going to find a way to squeeze yourself into what they offer. When you are low on resources, focus on getting those resources met from a job that you enjoy but don't love. That's like me with pet sitting right now. You know, like I mean, I said earlier that I plan on continuing to do it mostly because it's a job that I enjoy, but I don't love it. Okay, I do love it, but it's not my career. It's a job. This is my career. College is my career. The counseling, the mental health stuff, that is my career. Pet sitting is my job. And having the foundation of pet sitting to support me as I pursue my career really helps to promote feelings of safety in my body, which helps me to take better risks in my career. Okay, I know I just said that I was done talking about mindset stuff and then I went on some more about mindset stuff. Now I think I'm done on that topic, and I realized that I haven't introduced myself yet, so let me do that really quick. My name is Laura. Here on my channel, I talk all things mental health, money, and the attention economy. So if you are an artist, if you are a performer, if you are a content creator, influencer, if you're like an aspiring politician, if you want to be a public figure, a community leader, if you and your career would benefit from having an audience, this is the channel for you, or this is a channel for you. There are lots of channels on this topic, but I am very, very, very interested in the intersection of the attention economy, mental health, and money. The Venn diagram of those three, that's what I talk about here. um, if you go and look at some of my other long form content, you will see that I have veered off of this path. I talked about fitness a little bit, I talked about grad school a little bit, but I realized that I don't want to waste time on stuff that I don't want to be known for. And I don't want to be known for fitness content. I don't want to be known for student content. I want to be known for content that helps people who are trying to make a living in the attention economy. So, if that interests you, which I'm guessing it probably does if you've stuck around this long, and also if you've seen any of my channel analytics updates that I post on Sundays, definitely give me a follow. Like this video if you like it so far. And when you get to the end, leave a comment if you have any suggestions for future videos. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Now that we have fostered detachment from the outcome of any given specific negotiation, our next step is to get really specific on your blue sky best case scenario. Okay, this is going to get a little bit woo woo manifestation, but I also just think that it is an incredibly smart practice to do, even if you don't believe in that shit, because it gets you really clear on what it is that you want out of a negotiation. If you don't know what you want, then the other party has more leverage over you. So you need to be specific about what your perfect situation is, okay? So earlier in the video, I talked about your dream rate, right? And how like it can be scary to publish or ask for the dream amount of money that you would like to be making. But and like you don't have to publish it, but we are going to spend some time acknowledging what that number is, okay? There's a lot of advice out there in terms of like figuring out what that number is. And generally, that advice starts from thinking about the lifestyle that you want to live. Personally, I have not found that exercise to be super helpful because I think it can feel really disempowering to think about the dream lifestyle that you want to live, then think about how much money it would require to afford that dream lifestyle, and then look at the cavernous gap between where you currently are and where you want to be. Okay. I think that, like, yeah, seeing that huge leap from I am here, I am making pennies, and I want to be making bands, like, I think that it can promote feelings of stuckness. Okay. So if you're not, if you're like me and that feels too overwhelming to start with, that's okay. What I would suggest instead is thinking about what you're currently making at whatever your other job is, whatever your day job is. What are you making there? What would you need to be making in your new job, in your new like venture, in order to just be able to replace it? Let's say you're making $25 an hour at your current job and you're working 40 hours a week. I am not going to do the math on this. And let's say in your new dream scenario, you want to be working 30 hours a week on your, like, entrepreneurial venture, whether it's art, blah, blah, blah. You get me. You know where we're going with this. You want to be working 30 hours a week. So you need to up your hourly rate and also building in additional allowances for business expenses, taxes. Okay. So it's not going to be a one to one. Like, you also have to consider these other things of business ownership, right? So like that number is going to go up most likely, no matter what. Unless we're talking about going from one regular job to another regular job, but you just like this other regular job better. But yeah, thinking about what it would take to be sort of a lateral move as opposed to a big jump up, I think is a great way to get out of your own way when you're first starting with this. So, with like this, I don't want to say like limitation, but with this parameter guiding us, then I want you to think about other things. So far we've ascertained that your best case scenario is working 30 hours a week, making enough money to replace what you're making at your last job. What else? Maybe you want to be able to work from home. Maybe you want to be able to bring your dog to work. Maybe you want to have catered lunch every Friday. Maybe you want to be able to travel. Maybe you want to, I don't know, like, have your kind of standard benefits package, but like better. um, Point is, What you want to do is create a really specific and fleshed out vision of exactly what it is that you want. So, I'm going to tell a little story about how I made this work for me to earn my dream job. This was not the one that I was referencing earlier with the really shitty bosses. I had a great boss. This was an awesome job. So in my past life, I secured a position as the director of a youth performance troupe at a local, say, well, we'll call it a dance studio. And the director of the studio reached out to me. So I already had the upper hand, right? Like I had my gym job, I had my business. I was already like afloat, right? So when she came to me and was like, "Hey, like I need a teacher to teach 2 days a week." And it was going to be more money per hour than the gym job, but not really because I also made commissions at the gym job. And the gym job was a 10-minute walk from my house, whereas this new studio was like a 30-minute drive from my house. The math just didn't math. It would not have been a lateral move. It would have been financially a significant step down. So I told the studio owner, I was like, "Hey, I'm really flattered. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. Unfortunately, like this just doesn't make sense for me. I would have to quit that job in order to make your request work, and I simply like that I can't do that for the amount of money that you're offering." And she was like, "Hey, I understand, no worries." But I left the door open. I was like, "Hey, if you ever have more hours available, I would definitely be interested in revisiting this. If you are ever able to offer me enough that it does make sense for me to leave that job and come work for you, I'll do it." And so she's like, "Okay, noted," right? By the way, this person already knew me. Like, we had already worked together in the past. So that helps also. This gets easier as you gain more experience in your field. So, also, if you are new to the working world or you're new to whatever like field you're in, try not to feel super discouraged. Some of this stuff may not apply because you just don't have the connections and the reputation to support you in things like this. But anyway, let me continue. I continue working at the gym job for like another 2 weeks. And then she comes back to me like super fast about 2 weeks later and was like, "Hey, like I have 20 hours a week for you. You want them?" And so I was like, "Tell me more." And so it was teaching. It was being the director of the youth performance troupe. So that was things like booking gigs for the kiddos, being just like a general mentor, being in charge of putting their like annual show together, and just like being a significant leader in this school. And I was like, I mean, I'm getting chills as I'm recounting this, like it was totally my dream job. It was everything I wanted to be doing. And somebody else would be paying me to do it. I wouldn't have to be like finding my own funding to do it, right? Like, directing, choreographing, booking gigs, like being in charge of it all. I was like, hell yeah. And so because of our previous conversation, I knew how much money she could offer me. It was a really small business, so I knew that she didn't have a lot of wiggle room on the price. Okay. So this goes back to what we were talking about before. Like I knew that yeah, there wasn't going to be any room to negotiate on the amount of money per hour she could pay me. But perhaps there are some other ways to make this worth my while, right? So number one, can I train here for free? Or well, okay, well, I'll give you my list of demands. Number one, I need to be able to train there for free. You would be surprised at how many studios do not let their staff train there for free. It's kind of shocking to me. So I need to be able to train there for free. I need to be able to use this place as a rehearsal space for my own talent agency, my own like troupe of adults. And the studio director was like super thrilled about that. She's like, "Yes, we'd love to have like kind of an artist in residence situation with you." Great. I need to be able to make commissions on bookings that I bring the studio because, like, that'll help supplement the lack of cash in my hourly rate. And she's like, "Yeah, of course, no problem." I need to be able to do admin work from home so that I'm only here, which again, 30-minute drive in one direction. um, and that's no traffic and no weather. Okay. Sometimes it would take up to an hour and 15 to get to and fro. So I was like, I need to be able to only be there in person 2 days a week max, and then everything else I need to be able to do from home. She's like, yes, no problem. So basically, like, I had this like whole list of demands that I spent the time to put together before going to my negotiation, so that I like knew what I wanted. And the way that it worked out was that she offered me almost all of these things without me even asking. The only thing that I asked for was commissions on bookings, and she agreed with absolutely no pushback. So I'm really glad that I did that, because, yeah, I was able to go into this negotiation super clear on what it was that it would take for me to say, yes, I'm putting my 2 weeks in right now at my old job. So that's like step number one when it comes to preparing for your negotiation after we've laid the foundation mindset wise. Step number two is to decide what your no threshold is. Okay, so we've found the ceiling. What's the floor? Okay, what are the terms that the person or entity, company could offer you that would make you say, so sorry, I just can't. Like, this just doesn't make sense for me. The answer is no, I can't take this job. That for me would have been having to be there in person more than 2 days a week. If it was going to be more than that, it wouldn't have made sense for me financially or sanity wise to say yes to that job. 2 weeks was already kind of a stretch, or 2 days a week was already kind of a stretch, to be honest. So if they would have said, like, we actually really need you here 3 days, I would have said, okay, sorry, I'm not your person. Uh, if they couldn't have offered me free training, probably would have said no to that as well. So like I had in my mind for, like, if if this, like, I made kind of a flow chart in my mind, really, of like, if they give me this, it's a for sure yes. If they offer me that, it's a for sure no. But then there's all these like other options in the middle. So this is what they call levers when you're talking about negotiating for salary, but it applies for pretty much any other negotiation as well, which is to, again, look beyond the cash number, right? So thinking about, okay, if they can offer me this rate, if they're not able to go above this hourly rate, but they are able to offer me only 1 day a week instead of 2 days a week in person, then I would still say yes. Or if they would not offer me free training space, but they are able to bump up my hourly rate, then the answer would still be yes. um, that kind of thing. So, like, sort of thinking about, I'd be willing to take an imperfect deal with this specific area if they can offer me this instead. Then it still feels fair and doable for me, right? So for you, it might be something like, if they're not able to offer me the salary that I'm looking for, but they can offer me extra vacation, extra paid vacation, then I'll do that. If they're not able to meet my like hourly rate that I want, but they'll let me work from home 3 days a week, then it's a yes, right? Thinking about like just ways that the employer, the client, ways that they can make your life easier and save money ultimately, so that it costs you less to do the work that they're asking for. So then the profit margin kind of evens out. Does this make sense? I think it does, hopefully. Also worth thinking about some other things, like, office politics, a like shitty work environment, if it's the kind of thing where it's like, um, you know, it's all Gucci, but the lights in the building give you a headache every day, that's probably going to be a deal breaker, or it should be. At least if they don't offer an alternative, right? Like, if the lights in the building give you a headache every day and they won't let you work from home, then that would be a no. Getting clear on your no threshold and your levers, in addition to your pie in the sky best case scenario. Okay. I've said a lot. I hope this video wasn't like too long and long-winded. I like to give examples because I think it helps to illustrate how this might work for you. For me, when I'm learning new things, getting examples so that I can see these concepts at play is super important. So, if you don't like the long winded content, this channel may not be for you. Honestly, if you don't like long winded content, you are not still here. So, if you're still here, you like long winded content. So, you know what? I'm not going to apologize. I have a lot to say. That's why I started this channel. So, yeah, we're going to end it here. This is the absolute foundation. This has been Negotiation 101 for sensitives, creatives, and people pleasers. Again, working title. If you have a great idea for how to name this series, please let me know. Something with a little bit more ring to it. Come back next week. We're going to be talking about some more like specific tactics about like knowing how to price yourself, knowing what rate is fair, so that you don't undercut yourself and you also aren't undercutting the market, and you are able to meet your needs. And then also like how to really demonstrate to whoever is going to hire you why they should pay that much. I think that can get really tricky, because oftentimes those of us who are providing services, whether they're creative or not, we are too close to the service that we're providing to be able to like really see the value in it. So I have some tips and tricks for putting yourself in your client's shoes so that you can speak their language, solve their problem, and then they'll be more than happy to give you their entire budget and then some for whatever it is that you're offering. So, we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how to deal with rejection, because I think that is also a huge part of this, and also like super relevant for people pursuing careers in the spotlight in general. I think that having the skill of metabolizing rejection is so important. Like, I mean, really for anybody. Like, it just makes life so much easier when rejection is no big deal. So, we're going to talk about that. That'll probably also be a separate video. But yeah, so I have several more videos coming up, but do let me know if there is maybe a point in this video that you want me to expand on. I can't imagine that there was, but who knows? um, or if you have any like questions or just like other topics that you would like me to make content on, please leave me a comment. I do read all of my comments. My channel is teeny tiny. Oh, also, my goal for February was to reach 100 subscribers. As you can see, I did not do that, so I've just made it my March goal. If you would like to help me reach my goal of 100 subscribers, please hit the subscribe button. It'll also help you get notified when I put out new content. So, I'll be back on Sunday to go over my channel analytics for this week. Yeah, it's going to be good news. So come on back on Sunday to celebrate with me. Okay, bye.